Hey guys, it's Dr. Sam Robbins. Today I'm going to talk about 6 ways to make Viagra work better. Obviously, if you're watching this, you've used it or thinking about using Viagra, maybe you have erectile problems. Now, as awesome as Viagra is and has been around for better erections and so forth, what you don't hear about is all the problems associated with it. And that's the fact that Viagra doesn't work for almost half the people who use it. Now, the clinical studies with it actually show that 30 to 35% of users are what I call non-responders. Non-responder clinically is people who've taken the highest dose, which is 100 milligrams, have basically report satisfactory erection was not achieved. All right, so that's 35% of people. That typically has to do a little bit with genetics, the enzymes, and other hormonal problems, which I'll get to in a minute. Now, on top of that 35% who don't respond, there's another 15 to 20% of people who just don't respond because of some pre-existing health problems, such as diabetes or poor blood flow, blood pressure issues, and so forth. And then there's another maybe 10 to 15% of users who just get side effects from taking Viagra, such as low blood pressure, which again, if you don't know, sildenafil was originally a blood pressure drug. Side effect or effect was erections. They found a market and they renamed it for erections. So it does lower your blood pressure. So keep that in mind. In fact, I know someone close to me who took it and then passed out because his blood pressure dropped. And well, obviously not a cool thing to happen before you're about to have sex. Again, other problems is you get, bloodshot eyes, you get nasally problems, you get rapid heart rate. So some people just can't deal with it. Now, I just threw all these boring percentages at you, not to confuse you. But basically, Viagra doesn't work for a lot more people than it does. However, again, today I'm going to give you 6 proven ways to make Viagra work better and at the very least reduce the negative side effects. The first one is hormones. Now, first and foremost, the higher testosterone levels, the better Viagra and all these PD5 inhibitors will work. This because testosterone has a lot of health benefits, especially for erections, and it helps increase nitric oxide, NO, and that's how Viagra works. It brings more gas and blood flow to the penis. Testosterone also improves dopamine levels, which is, again, needed for erections, and that's why Viagra tends to work a lot better in younger guys with higher testosterone levels than older guys with lower testosterone levels. And it's a sad irony, right? The younger guys who don't need it, the Viagra works better than the older guys who do need it, it doesn't. And again, this has a lot to do with hormones. Now, the good news is that naturally you can increase your testosterone levels naturally, right? To make Viagra work better for you, especially at the lower dosages. So keep that in mind, which means less side effects. I put links below this on how to increase your testosterone levels naturally below in the description area. And this works for guys at any age, but take a look at the end of this video. Another thing is the dosage. See how you respond, all right? My suggestion is always start with the lowest dose, which is 25 milligrams. Basically, if you get a 100 milligram tab, chop it in quarters, right? You do 25 milligrams, do that for a couple of times, see how your body responds. If you respond well, great. If you don't, up it to 50 milligrams. If you don't, at 50 milligrams, then do 100 milligrams. For some people, it's dose related. I know guys who do need the 100 milligrams to really get the effect, and those guys typically do have very low testosterone levels and they're older. So again, start low, build up. Another one is how you take it. All right, this is super important. Most people will take Viagra, obviously orally, and you should do so on an empty stomach. This is super important, especially with Viagra. A lot of drugs work better on an empty stomach. Viagra, especially 2 hours after a meal or 1 hour before a meal, or at least 30 minutes before a meal. You really want your stomach to be empty. Taking it with a meal, especially a fatty meal, really reduces the absorption and the positive effects. So keep that in mind. Another way to take it, which I have taken it in the past, is sublingually, underneath your tongue, right? And the way you do it is you'll just bite the tablet, right, until it gets kind of powdery and just let it sit underneath your tongue, all right? About 5 to 10 minutes, a lot of it will get dissolved. pretty much most of it. And then what's left, you just wash it down with a cup of water. So most of it gets dissolved underneath the tongue, and the rest will go in your stomach like it normally would. The benefit here is it gets into your bloodstream way faster, so it works quicker, which I'll talk to you in a minute. Takes maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and you don't have to worry about food disrupting it or that. So not only does it work better, gets better absorbed, it also works faster. Now, there's one other way you can take it to make it work faster, and that's suppository. That's in the butt, in the anus, directly into the rectum. It does get absorbed quicker because it's an open area like your tongue. But keep that in mind. I don't suggest that. It's up to you if you want to stick something in your butt, but that's up to you. Now, the next thing is when you take it. Keep in mind that Viagra has a 4-hour half-life. What does that mean? Half-life. So basically, when you take a drug, it's got a 4-hour half-life, or like caffeine, that's got a 5-hour half-life. If you take, again, 100 milligrams, 4 hours later, half of that is still there. So 100 milligrams and it's 50 milligrams, and 4 hours later, it's 25 milligrams, and so forth. I mention this because Viagra can take a bit of time to kick in, 20 to 60 minutes. Again, depending on how you take it. You take it sublingual, it'll hit faster. If you take it orally in the mouth, on an empty stomach, faster, and so on and so forth. 20 to 60 minutes. And that has to do with just age, your metabolism, genetics, what's inside your stomach. And for some people, it can take maybe an hour or two, maybe sometimes 3 hours to really kick in. So if you don't feel it right away, despite all this stuff, be patient, all right? When you take it is very important, just as how you take it. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is avoiding, things to avoid. Remember that for Viagra to work, you still need to get aroused. You still need to get turned on, whether it's, in your mind or physically or both. So it's not a drug you just, put in the mouth and then you get an instant erection. So please don't expect that. Say, hey, stuff's not working. All right. You need to get aroused. And some people, it takes a little bit longer to get aroused. So maybe like nothing's happening. And then maybe 5 or 10 minutes later, as things start warming up, right? Then you get that erection. Then you're like, oh shit, things are working. So just be a little bit patient. At the same time, don't do anything that's going to prevent you from getting aroused, such as alcohol, different drugs, uppers, downers, smoking isn't good, marijuana, and so forth. So, there's a long list of other drugs, from cholesterol to anti-anxiety drugs, to blood pressure, and I'll make a video about that later. But, if you already have a problem getting an erection and you have low testosterone, don't make things worse by taking a drug or any substance that is going to already know it's going to cause erectile problems. So keep that in mind. So just don't do the bad drugs, especially if you're having issues. And then finally, I want to talk about different supplements that will improve their ability to take Viagra to work. One of them is L-citrulline. That's an amino acid. You've heard of L-arginine. L-arginine helps produce nitric oxide. L-citrulline is a little bit better. Nitric oxide, again, is the gas that improves blood flow, and that's how Viagra works. The combination of the two actually work pretty well. But take in mind that citrulline, you need about 5 grams. That's 5,000 milligrams, all right, to work. Take it about 30 to 45 minutes before sex. Again, with combination of the Viagra, I suggest you take the powder, the teaspoon of it, like a big teaspoon, which is 5 grams of it. The tablet's going to cause way too much expense, all right? And so I'll take citrulline. You also want to take a testosterone booster, natural one. Remember, there's herbs and minerals that help increase your testosterone levels. And I said, none of this will work as well until you have high testosterone levels. Keep that in mind. And then finally, you want to improve blood flow. All right. That's what nitric oxide does, improves blood flow. If you take citrulline, improves blood flow. Testosterone improves blood flow. But however, there's certain herbs and vitamins that will also improve blood flow and improves elasticity. Because one thing is, as we get older, blood flow decreases. Your arteries and veins aren't as elastic, so you can't get enough blood flow. I'll put links to all these 3, the ones that I take, below in the video in the description area. If all of this fails, there are other options that you can take, whether it's nasal stuff or injections that will definitely give you the erections. I'll make a video about that. So you make sure you're subscribed to this channel. So I'll make that video, and when it gets released, you'll get notified. But the first thing you want to do is don't do all the negative things that I mentioned. Increase your testosterone levels, improve your blood flow, and just be patient. All right. Sometimes the plumbing takes a little bit longer to heat up. So be patient, give it a try. Let me know your questions below. Thanks for watching. Take care.